Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. Join us at our kitchen table twice a week as the Mighty Married Moms, Debbie, Linda, Wendy,
invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy,
building marriages with soul-satisfying connection, raising happy, healthy, successful kids. Conversations with Mighty Married Moms will bring you closer to the life you really want. Episode 106. Hi, this is Wendy Williams. And marriage happiness is way possible. ConnectAgain.org is very happy to sponsor Mighty Married Moms. We are partners in bringing you closer to the life you really want. Visit us today for marriage boosts at ConnectAgain.org. Hi everyone, welcome back to Mighty Married Moms. Today we are going to be talking with Michael Bloom. He is a certified professional coach and caregiving without regret expert. He's energized hundreds of caregivers with soul-saving coping strategies that support them in saving lives, including their own. With a wealth of practical expertise as both a family and professional caregiver, Michael serves as a welcome and sought-after catalyst to guide caregivers to stay energized and committed to work that has never been more important than it is today, and I agree with that. He's also the author of the book, The Accidental Caregiver Survival Guide, Your Roadmap to Caregiving Without Regret, and his website is caregivingwithoutregret.com. So, Michael, welcome, and we're really happy to have you with us today. This is a really important topic for lots and lots of parents, you know, being caught in that sandwich generation. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about, how you got into this business and what's your history here?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it's a great pleasure to be here with all of you. And how I got into this business really from the professional side is more than 20 years ago, I entered the field supporting people with intellectual developmental disabilities. Actually, my first professional job after graduate school, I called myself an accidental entry into the field supporting people with disabilities, as I graduated with a master's in psychology in the early 90s during the Bush senior recession. Okay. And there were no jobs. And I wanted to relocate to Massachusetts. I'm from the DC area originally, and I have family up in this area. And I got a job at a group home serving adults with autism. And that was the best accidental entry that I could ever have. And I had a very long career directly supporting people with disabilities. I've also been an administrator, overseeing adult residential services, vocational, family supports, individual supports, rehabilitation supports. I've spent several years as the executive director of a special needs school. So supporting children and adults with disabilities has been a great passion of mine. But the reason I bring up the first experience is I had no idea that my first job in the early 90s supporting people with autism, many of whom had significant behaviors, would come to play in my own family life. In 2009, my dad had a very sudden catastrophic heart failure incident. He woke up one morning with a heart rate of 25. Wow. My dad was the primary caregiver for my mom, who at that time was a 5-year cancer survivor from stage 4B lymphoma. She was a miraculous survivor, but she had her mind, but she needed full physical support for a lot of things, activities of daily living. My dad was doing a remarkable job for about 5 years, and I was the secondary support while I was working. But after his heart failure incident, he had oxygen deprivation to the brain. He ended up with vascular dementia. So overnight, like a snap of a finger, he had no short-term memory. Wow. So I'm an only child. My parents were older parents when they had me. So I stepped in to care for them both. I put my career aside, and I spent the next several years providing care to both of them at first, and then just to my mom. And I honored the commitment to keep my mother out of a nursing home. Pursued became a certified professional life coach while still caring for my mom, and then launched my caregiving business in 2011 so I could have the flexibility to work from home, care for my mom, and then it just kind of expanded and grew from there. My mom passed Mother's Day 2012 here at home in my arms, she ended up, the cancer came back with a vengeance early in 2012, and then she transitioned. But it's been a wonderful journey. It's a great way to take lemons and turn them into lemonade, and I get great joy out of helping other caregivers get a life for themselves while they're caring for their loved ones.
Yeah, that's a really important aspect of it, is how to still have your own life while you're taking care of other people.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm so moved by your story.
Yeah, that's really incredible.
Yeah. One of the things we know is that there are more and more caregivers in the United States today. Who are most of them, and how do most of them become caregivers?
Yeah, so there are, there are tens of millions of caregivers in the U.S. Most of them become caregivers the way I did, and it's really without prior. I mean, you kind of know your parents are getting older. You know things can happen, but generally it happens very suddenly. So and whether a parent's giving birth to a child with special needs, or one of our honored veterans is returning from war with injury. We currently have 1 million Americans caring for an injured veteran from Iraq and Afghanistan. So they enter into the numbers too. Somebody having a sudden traumatic brain injury from a car accident. I have a friend whose husband was in a really terrible bicycle accident about a week ago. Ended up in the hospital. So you never, and those of us, since we're in Massachusetts, we know even the Boston bombing victims from the marathon a few years ago. Right. They talk about the heroic actions that took place that day, but behind every story of healing is a circle of family caregivers that are supporting each of them. So generally, it's not expected, and something suddenly happens. And I equate it to kind of jumping into the deep end of the pool of care. Like I know we just are finishing summer, but I like swimming pools and the beach. I usually dip my toe in the water to see if the temperature's comfortable beforehand. When your loved one has a crisis, there's no testing the water.
Dipping, yeah.
You jump into the deep end and your life is never the same. And that's how most people enter the role.
Well, the analogy is apt. It's kind of like having a baby all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have months to prepare, it's going to happen, and then boom, there's this baby in your life. So life changes dramatically.
Yeah. So, right. I know I've had, with my in-laws, my husband's mother suddenly got ill, and it was a very short period of time before. She had been ill, just like you said, and then suddenly it got worse, and she ended up with a massive heart attack, and boom, she was gone. And then his father was so sad and so depressed over losing his wife and his Alzheimer's, which we were suspecting maybe he was showing early signs. It just seemed to accelerate at a rapid pace, and then suddenly we were put in this situation where we had to take care of this man who couldn't take care of himself, and you couldn't let him drive, and he refused to get rid of his keys, and you had to have that whole battle, and it was so sad, and he was so upset about it. It was really, 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 really hard. And
what kind of advice do you have for families that are going through that exact sort of situation, where they're battling with somebody, an older person who really shouldn't be driving, and they're reluctant to give up their keys? I mean, do you go in and you clip the wires in the car? I mean, I've heard of people doing that.
That's a very common issue. And one of the things I suggest to families is don't put your elder parent or the elder family member under the microscope to make them feel defensive. So one of the best ways is to be proactive with a number of things. It's not just about the car keys is the immediate thing. Right. But have a family discussion. We're certainly entering the holiday season, and it's really important to line up your documents in total. And if you are over the age of 18, unless you're somebody with a developmental disability who's been deemed incompetent and has a guardian, anybody over the age of 18 could become incapacitated any time from a car accident, a bike accident, anything. It's so important that we have our documents in place, meaning healthcare proxies, the durable powers of attorney. Use that as a way to have a discussion about the things that would necessitate taking certain actions for any member in the family. So you agree what the threshold is for other people stepping up to the plate to drive and giving up car keys, having those documents. If you take the elder out from being under the microscope because they're elderly and they're showing signs of dementia, it tends to help them feel less defensive, because we're all having this discussion and we're all agreeing if we show X, Y is going to happen. So that's what I do in the discussions that I have with coaching with families around that tends to help. I mean, there are going to be family members, no matter what, that are resistant, but at least if you open up that all of us are coming to an agreement that we're going to complete these forms, rather than sticking the healthcare proxy in their faces, I need you to sign this, or the estate planning documents. I was very fortunate in that my dad was very open to having all of that planning. He engaged in an estate planning attorney, had all the documents lined up. My mother wanted no discussion about end-of-life stuff. So when it came to the crisis that took place, my dad had everything lined up, so I was able to step in and be the decision maker without having to go to court, without having to do anything. Right. So I didn't have to worry about all that legal stuff. So that's my advice, is get these things done early while people are healthy and with their mind, because people can't sign documents when they're no longer competent.
Nope, they can't.
Right. So that's tip number one. We like to give our listeners and viewers tips. That's tip number one, is get these documents all lined up, and that's the healthcare proxy and the durable power of attorney. Pay somebody to take care of these for you. It's money well worth spent.
Never too soon.
Yeah, and it's never too soon. Yeah, 18.
That's an interesting. That's interesting.
Well, actually, that's what we're doing. Our attorney who set up a lot of our stuff set that up for our kids, and so as soon as our kids turned 18, we got them to sign those forms too.
Yeah. One thing that comes to mind, oh gosh, it just went out of my mind about I know, is one of the things when I did my healthcare proxy and I assigned I have a niece, well, she is a niece, literally she's a niece, but she's 4 years younger than me. She's not many, many years younger than me, but she's a registered nurse as well. I used to be. And one of the things that I wrote in longhand at the end of my healthcare proxy is, if there's a day when I will never be Wendy-ish again, that's the day that you don't need to worry about the machines. Do whatever you need to do. But if it's very clear that I'm not going to be Wendy-ish either just by my smile or my interactions, then that's it. Never mind walking, talking, and whatever. But if there's a hint that I could still wink at you or laugh with you or enjoy you when you came in the room, let's keep it going. But if the Wendy light's out, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Sure. They're great documents. So the healthcare proxy is really appointing a proxy, a specific person.
Yep.
Want to make sure whoever you identify is somebody you really trust. So the next step with that, unfortunately, my dad didn't do that stuff, okay? And we didn't think that way. He had the documents lined up with the proxies, but he never fully communicated what his wishes were for different steps along the way. And my mother and him never discussed it because death for her, as with many people, is a taboo topic. We don't talk about it. And many people don't think about death and dying as an extended process, okay, that can take place over a long time. So it's really key to do that. In the state of Massachusetts, where we all are, advance directives, other than assigning a proxy, you can't really, advance directives that you put in writing hold no legal weight. Okay, so it's really important for the proxy to know what you want. The proxy, if you can't make your own decision, will step in and hopefully make the decision based on what you tell them.
Right.
Vital to give people a roadmap, especially if you have larger families. I'm an only child, which was a blessing and a curse. The blessing was I knew other family members to argue with. The curse was I felt alone at times, okay? So, but many adult siblings that have parents that are, reaching end of life time have fights over treatment, not treatment, all of this stuff. Even if the parent would put a roadmap together about what they would want, and there are easy ways to do that. There's a great resource out there called the 5 Wishes.
Yes. I've seen that, yeah.
Really nice document. Okay. The healthcare proxy part is within the 5 Wishes form, but it tells you with your wishes what you want for different sort of steps, including what you would even want for your memorial service. But the good thing about this is when people are under stress and dealing with, these are really frightening situations. And if you have a roadmap, I wish I had a roadmap from my dad. And in fact, after we went through what we did with my dad and my dad passed, I tried to have a conversation with my mother because fortunately my mother kept her mind the whole way. So I didn't ever have to step in to make a decision. But I asked her what she would want and she didn't want to talk about it. Her response to me is, if I'm out of my mind, I trust you. Well, that was beautiful and wonderful, but that was still
not very helpful.
Not very comforting for me because that left. So I tried to think, what would she want? Fortunately, never had to go there. But with my dad, I was under a lot of stress because I really didn't know, but I used my judgment based on what, he raised me. So I based, and we were very good friends as well. So I used it as just, that judgment. But if you can fill out something and provide a map, it takes away this ability. It brings clarity, to the situation.
So that's tip number 2 is go to 5 Wishes and fill out some sort of a roadmap, or even if you don't use 5 Wishes.
You don't have to use 5 Wishes.
Some sort of a roadmap for people. Let's transition just a little bit. You have this book, Caregiving Without Regret. And what's your reason for that subtitle? What are some of the main tips and strategies? How can people be successful caregivers?
Yeah, and I like taking a selfie with my
Absolutely.
book.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So it's my selfie picture and all this. This was my first book. Actually, the book came about because after my mom passed away and I used hospice for both of my parents, I was working with a bereavement counselor. I took advantage. One of the greatest hospice benefits for caregivers is bereavement counseling that hospice will provide. And it was really great for healing. She suggested that I start writing I did, and I actually wrote an essay called Parent Caregiving Without Regret that got published in the Gratitude Book Project in 2013. And that started the impetus for me to write my book. So the reason for the subtitle is caregivers tend to experience two main areas of regret during the caregiving journey. And the first one is for setting aside personal and professional goals and aspirations because they're all in for their loved one. They feel drained. They feel, really overwhelmed with what they have to do, and they get into a have to phase. I have all of these things I need to take care of for my household. Many caregivers, are sandwich generation caregivers. So they may be taking care of an elder parent and raising children. Yeah. Okay. And so there's lots of responsibilities. They get lost in the process. So maybe before the elder parent needed, all the help or support, or it could even be a spouse. I mean, we have a lot of spouses that become ill or get cancer and all those things too. So goals that they had get put aside. Well, you know what? If you're caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia or Parkinson's disease, that journey of care could be a decade or more. Are you willing to really sacrifice a decade of your life and do nothing for yourself? So the idea is, how can you do this, still provide high quality support to your loved one, but do things for you? The second area of regret, and this is very common, is because you and your loved ones are walking through some of the scariest, most frightening things that we could ever go through in life. They truly are life and death situations. We're not talking about my favorite TV show being canceled or being upset about it.
Right.
We're talking about really painful, awful treatments, loss of functioning, loss of independence, loss of cognitive ability, just really scary. When we feel fear, we lash out at those that are closest to us, and they tend to be our care partners because they're with us all the time. Sure. So a lot of people, and I can't tell you how many people when I do live speaking engagements come up to me afterwards and say, I had one woman in particular who was just crying afterwards, and she was taking care of her mother and her mother had Alzheimer's and her brother had cancer, and she was taking care of them both at the same time. Okay. Her mother had already passed. Her brother was still around, so she was at this caregiving forum. But why she was so upset is she felt that at times she was really tough on her mom because she wasn't feeling so patient. And her mom is gone, and oh my gosh, I have all this regret of all these things that I said. And it's kind of like, I said, well, how do you really know your mother would be upset with you now? First of all, she had Alzheimer's, so she probably didn't remember what you said 10 minutes later. But second of all, you really don't know. And I'll give you an example. I try to be a pretty even-headed guy. My mom and I were very close too. But after, when I was taking care of both of my parents at the same time, and even though I have all this experience, my mom for 5 years could dictate and direct my dad how to run her kitchen. Okay. When I came into the house and she tried to do the same with me, I'm her son, not her husband. And, I'm, 40 years old or whatever. You're not going to dictate me necessarily. And one day he was telling me how to line the dishwasher her way. And I had so many other things I was thinking about that I just was like, I don't give a crap about the dishwasher. Kind of thing. This is really minor. To her, it was her way of holding on to something that was still important. Control. So here was the thing. A couple hours after this, after I had some time to think about it, I apologized. And I mean, we had these things happen a handful of times. Every time I apologized to her, and especially that one occasion, she said to me, Michael, I don't even know what you're apologizing for. It didn't bother her. Okay. So what I thought was sharp tongue, and take it that way. And part of it is because our parents really can be very forgiving of us. I mean, they raise us, they love us. So my message to her, to others, is if you feel like you've said or done something and your loved one has passed, forgive yourself. Talk to them and express your need for forgiveness if they're still alive and you're still caring for them. I'm not saying people who go to the level of abuse. That's a whole different avenue.
Right, sure.
Yeah, of course.
It's different. But I'm saying for the most part, if you let loose emotionally because you're scared and your loved one is scared and you lash at each other, just express your humanness, seek forgiveness, but forgive yourself too and move on. So that's really the big
Absolutely. I mean, one of the advantages of age, right, is wisdom. And I think, no matter what, your parents have that wisdom to know that these things happen sometimes and we get mad at each other and it's not a personal thing and they can let it go easier than we might expect. So that's a great thing to hear.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And I'm kind of interested in a little bit what you talked about with, you said you were by yourself, but if there are siblings, what is the best thing that people can do to try to say, I see things this way, you see things that way, and I think that you're putting mom at risk, and I think, well, you're putting mom at risk, or whatever, or I don't have time for this, you do it. What is your kind of your best tip on moderating the crowds?
Sure. Well, there tends to be a primary caregiver, and in multi-sibling families, when it comes to parents, there tends to be one that more steps up to the plate out of choice, out of feeling of duty, out of whatever it is. Traditionally, it's been the oldest female sibling.
Right.
Traditionally is the one that steps up to the role, although that's changing. Statistics are showing that almost 40% of family caregivers are men now. So
wow.
Those numbers are actually...
In my husband's family, it was him. He's an older brother and 2 sisters, but he was the one.
Yeah, so it can be. But here's the whole thing for primary caregivers, and a lot of them who feel like they may have the deadbeat family members. I had one client referred to her brother as a deadbeat brother, deadbeat.
Okay. Yeah.
Responsible. So I kind of adopted that phrase. So, so anyway, the idea is that if you're in the caregiving role primarily, make a list of everything you're doing. Everything that needs to be done on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, and an as-needed basis. Okay, have a list, have a menu. Doesn't have to be done all at once. Keep adding to it over time. When you're seeking support from others, because there are many people along the way, and even me in the beginning, people would ask, cousins or friends, whatever, what can I do to help? When I was initially in the role, I was so overwhelmed and tried to do it all, be the independent. I've been a manager, I've been an administrator, I've manage multi-million-dollar budgets. I can manage my family. It was just more like, I can do this, but you can't really do it alone. But if you want to get people to help, let them choose how they can help from your menu of items rather than directing them to do something. One of the biggest mistakes people do is they direct a sibling to do something, and the sibling goes, there's years of clash between them. Nobody likes to get bossed around. Nobody gets told what to do. And the bottom line with everything is you as the primary caregiver who has siblings may be choosing to step up to the role to serve as much as you want to serve. Nobody is under obligation to do this. We all have the ability to make our own choices. So embrace your choice, but don't criticize others. The judgment that you hold is only drawing you down, is letting you down. So to answer your question specifically in terms of how to moderate situations, is have this list of tasks. But I would also say with the primary caregiver, and if she or he can't do it themselves, document what's happening with your loved one. Don't just verbally report, write a journal note, do something. There's a great, because if you have documentation, documentation shows it happens. Because what ends up happening is family members get together. Well, that's not happening. Mom is doing X, Y, and Z. Well, you're telling this out of anger and out of whatever. But if you could say, you know what, look, mom is up 3 hours a night, 5 days, and I'm not getting any sleep, and blah, blah, blah. You actually can show that because you can say you took a note. And I'm not saying to make it complicated. Yeah. I'll give you a great free resource that's out there for people to use for developing a support team and journaling. It's called LOTSAHelpingHands.com. LOTSA. LOTSA helpinghands.com. You can caregivers can create a free portal, a free caregiving portal, your own community. My mom's nickname was Bunny. I created Bunny's Helpers. And when I started to develop my team, I could type a journal note in there, and I could click at a click of a button. It would be an email out to all the members of my support team.
Wow, that is great.
And there's a calendar function. So if you have appointments that you need help with, or you want to take a class and have some people, you can post your calendar need there, and anybody who's a part of your community could just volunteer to
That's awesome.
Sign up. So it's free. It's 100% free. So, and you could put as much or as little information as they have medical kinds of notes and stuff. So you can put documents, or you can put information that's key if you have other caregivers coming in. When I started using a home health agency to help supplement some time and hours, the coordinator I put in my team because she could get the information and report.
Sure.
So it just really streamlines communication. The other thing I could say, many caregivers may not be technically savvy. You may have a younger family member
Who can do that?
And you just report verbally and they take care of the monitoring.
Right.
Great job. You don't have to be, with technology, you don't have to be right in the same space. So if you want to get a sibling involved who may be technologically savvy but is 500 miles away, there's a way you can do it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so great. Yeah, I would think it would be like my situation right now with my mom is she's definitely older and she's got a lot of health issues. My dad died 12 years ago and I have a brother who's in Georgia and a sister who's in this area as well, but we're far away from our mom. So it'd be good to set that up now prior to, anything, because she's on the edge, of something could happen at any moment.
Right. That's a great thing. Oh my gosh, this was so practical and so helpful. And
having family members choose, like that is just brilliant. My husband and I could have used that when we went through the situation with his parents.
Rather than dictating, you do this.
Oh my gosh, it was, his sisters just weren't emotionally, they just fell apart. It was really, they just couldn't handle it. And so we sort of had to really step in fully. And, but nobody else viewed it that way. So it was a very interesting dynamic that happened. That would have been the magic. It would have
been, and support for the caregiver doesn't always have to be doing something directly with the loved one or the care recipient. Okay, there's so many things that are needed to keep up a household.
Totally.
Or all of those things. So let's say you have a brother that doesn't, some people don't feel comfortable getting into, I did in-depth hygiene with both of my parents. That's or easy thing to do. Okay. So, so not everybody feels comfortable doing something like that. In fact, it might weird them out. It might make them really uncomfortable. So why get angry and critical? But can they be involved in another way?
Yeah.
Can they take your car to the mechanic to get
babysit your kids?
Can they do right? Exactly. There are other things they could do that are not directly related to the caregiving, what we think is the caregiving task. But still going to make life easier for the caregiver.
Right.
And if the person chooses to contribute in a way they feel good about and that they feel skilled to do it, they're more likely to do it gladly. And so that's really the whole thing about this.
It all comes back to it takes a village, and it takes a village not only in these critical crisis-oriented times, but in all times of life. We've just really become such a society that's
we're in our own silos
and in our own little castle, and we're afraid. Well, I'll speak for myself. I'm afraid to say, would you mind, could you please on your way here, I know you're coming to do something like Debbie and Linda come here all the time, like, what would prevent me from saying, could you stop and get a quart of milk on your way, other than being embarrassed? So that's me.
Yeah.
So I need to drop that. Not that I need a quart of milk today. I'm all set. But nonetheless, something like that, it just, I think it's a lesson that goes beyond the crisis mode, that we all need to link arms and to really be there for one another.
Just be caregivers
and care receivers.
And care receivers. That's
right. Care receivers. It's hard.
Michael, this was a fabulous conversation. Thank you so much. And we didn't even get to how to take care of yourself when you're a caregiver. I'm sure there's tons of information about that we can talk about too. But our time is up.
Get the book. Maybe we can have you back again.
Yeah. I love that. Absolutely.
That would be really great.
It would be really my pleasure.
So, Michael, why don't you tell everybody again your website, your book, any other projects that you want people to know about, either related to this or unrelated. It's totally up to you. It's your chance. Go for it.
Okay, awesome. Well, I showed you before my book. So you can get the book on Amazon. But also, if you go to caregivingwithoutregret.com, I offer a free resource guide of my top 5 recommended online resources that are free for caregivers, including Lots of Helping Hands is one of those resources that I recommend. So to get that, I encourage people to come and sign up for that. If people want to go deeper with me, I have launched just recently the Caregiving Thrival Kit program, which is an online program for caregivers that has 4 core modules, ongoing monthly coaching. The program is about to expand a little bit further. November, the month of November, is actually National Family Caregivers Month, so I'm going to push then about it. But just come to caregivingwithoutregret.com, reach out, send me an email connection. I love meeting new people, and nothing gives me greater joy than my passion of supporting fellow caregivers to take care of themselves.
Awesome.
That's great.
Awesome. Great.
Thank you so much. Everybody,
This is great.
We've been talking with Michael Bloom from caregivingwithoutregret.com. And this is Mighty Married Moms, our podcast and our YouTube channel. My name is Debbie Owen from youcanraiseGreatKids.com.
Linda Tighe from allwellbreaksloose.com.
And I'm Wendy Williams from connectagain.org.
So thank you very much for being with us today, Michael. And all of you listeners and reviewers, please go to iTunes and give us a rating and review. Tell your friends. Share this episode with family and friends. This is a really important one.
People need this.
And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mighty Married Moms. Tune in twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays to meet fascinating and inspiring guests who will help you create the life you've always wanted.
You can find these episodes and special gifts just for you at mightymarriedmoms.com, as well as a link to our Facebook community,
where we continue the conversation around the kitchen table. Please also help share the love by leaving a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.